Today marks exactly 1,095 days since I last saw my precious grandchildren, Lily and Tom. 1,095 days, and counting. My name is Arthur. I'm 82 years old, a widower, and a man who thought he knew what family meant. I'm going to tell you how I raised my son Mark after his mother, my dear Martha, passed too soon, and how today, my own family has inexplicably cut me out of the lives of the only joy I had left. If you have parents, please listen to the end. It might save your family from a pain like mine. Every morning I wake up, and the first thing I see is their last drawing, still taped to my refrigerator door. A wobbly house, a stick figure family, me, Lily, and Tom. It was the last time they came over. Lily was 6, Tom was 8. They were my everything. My Martha would have been so proud of them, so proud of the man Mark had become. But now there's just silence. The phone never rings. My calls go straight to voicemail. I try not to cry, not to let the tremor in my voice betray the emptiness inside, but it's a constant ache, a gaping hole where laughter and little footsteps used to be. My son, my Mark, how could he? How could they all? I sometimes wonder if it's my fault, if I did something wrong, but I can't remember what. It feels like a piece of my soul has been taken, leaving only questions and this terrible, quiet sorrow. But to understand how I got here, I need to go back to the days when we were happy. It's been 1,247 days since my son, my Mark, last answered my phone. 1,247 days of silence. But I remember when he used to call me Dad, my hero, the comforting smell of Martha's apple pie filling every Christmas, the boisterous laughter echoing around our full dining table, my Lily and Tom giggling as Mark tickled them. If you knew what I discovered at the end of this story, hidden in plain sight, maybe there would still be time for you not to make the same mistake my family did. I've walked through this quiet house, a shell of its former self, countless times, trying to pinpoint the moment the light went out. Was it the day Martha passed? Did I become too much of a burden, a reminder of what was lost? I taught Mark everything. I taught him how to change a tire, how to fix a leaky faucet, how to be a man of his word. We spent weekends in the garage, his small hands greasy but eager, helping me with projects. He was my shadow, my pride. After Martha, my love. It was just us for so many years. I poured every ounce of my being into raising him, ensuring he had every opportunity I never did. And then he grew up, got married, had Lily, and Tom, my grandchildren, my reason to wake up. They filled this house with joy again. Their tiny handprints on the windows a constant cherished mess. Every Tuesday they'd come over. Lily would bring her latest crayon masterpiece, and Tom, he'd always have a new story about a dinosaur or a superhero. Their voices, those sweet innocent voices, were the music of my later years. Now this house, it's just a silent echo chamber, filled only with the ghosts of laughter and the lingering scent of Martha's perfume in her old scarf. Wait, I haven't told you the part that makes me cry every night yet. It's the memory of him, my Mark, on his 7th birthday. Martha had made his favorite chocolate cake, the one with the thick fudge frosting he always tried to sneak a finger into before dinner. He sat at the head of the table, crowned with a flimsy paper hat, his eyes wide with excitement. I remember looking at Martha, across the flickering candles, and her smile. It lit up the whole room. That was true happiness. Not a single worry in the world, just the simple, abundant joy of our little family. My Mark, he unwrapped a baseball glove that day, a worn-in, leathery mitt I'd painstakingly broken in myself for weeks. He let out a shriek of pure delight and hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. "Best dad ever," he'd yelled, his voice still a high-pitched squeak. That phrase, "best dad ever," it echoes in my mind now, a cruel taunt from a past that seems impossibly distant. I remember another time when Mark was about 12. He'd signed up for the school science fair, convinced he could build a working miniature volcano. Bless his heart, he made a mess of the kitchen, mixing baking soda and vinegar, splattering red food coloring everywhere. Martha, my patient Martha, she just laughed, her apron dusted with white powder. I spent hours with him, guiding his little hands, explaining the chemical reactions, making sure his poster board was neat. He didn't win first prize, but he won an honorable mention, and his face glowed with such pride. I told him then, "Son, it's not about winning, it's about learning and trying your best." He looked at me, his eyes full of admiration, and I truly thought I was doing something right. I was raising a good man, a thoughtful boy, the kind of boy who would never forget his parents. When he went off to college, I worried sick. Martha would tell me, "Arthur, let him grow, he's a man now." But he'd still call every Sunday evening without fail. "Just checking in, Dad," he'd say, and tell me about his classes, his friends, his plans. He was studying engineering, just like I had always dreamed he might. I remember him coming home for breaks, filling the house with his booming voice and the smell of his laundry. We'd sit on the porch, sipping iced tea, talking for hours. Those conversations, the easy flow of words between a father and his son, they were sacred. We'd talk about his future, about his dreams, about how he wanted to make a difference in the world. And I was always there, ready to listen, ready to offer advice, even if he didn't always take it. My job, I thought, was to always be his anchor. Then came the wedding. My Mark, marrying Sarah, a beautiful, kind woman. Martha and I, we were so happy. We danced at the reception, my Martha, elegant and glowing, her hand in mine. We watched Mark and Sarah share their first dance, tears in our eyes. And when Lily was born, oh my Lily, the day Mark called me, his voice choked with emotion, saying, "Dad, you're a grandfather." I remember rushing to the hospital, holding that tiny bundle, her little hand gripping my finger. It was a love I hadn't known existed. And then Tom, my Tom, 2 years later. They were the light, the continuation of everything Martha and I had built. Lily, with her curious mind and artistic flair, always drawing, always creating. Tom, with his endless energy and imagination, building forts out of cushions and telling me elaborate stories about dragons. I'd spend hours on the floor with them, reading stories, building Lego castles. I'd take them to the park, push them on the swings, their laughter soaring through the air. My heart felt full, complete. I remember vividly the last time they were truly here, not just a quick drop-off. It was my 79th birthday 3 years ago. Martha was gone by then, but Mark and Sarah, they brought the kids. Lily had made me a card, painstakingly colored, a little house with me inside and a big sun. Tom had given me a rock he found, declaring it a magic wishing stone. We ate pizza, played a board game, Candyland, I think, for Lily's sake. And then, at the end of the evening, just before they left, Lily and Tom ran up and hugged me tight. "We love you, Grandpa," they shouted. That's the last clear memory I have of their voices in this house. The next day, I woke up and there was a message from Sarah saying they were too busy for their usual Tuesday visit. Then another and another. My calls to Mark, they started going straight to voicemail. I didn't understand. I still don't. It felt like a slow, agonizing fade, not a sudden cut, like someone was slowly turning down the volume on my life until all I could hear was the ringing in my ears, the ringing of silence, the drawing they left on the fridge, that wobbly house, the stick figures. It's a snapshot of a life that was, not a life that is. I hold on to it like a lifeline, a desperate plea to remember. It hurts to remember, but it hurts more to forget. Was there a fight? A misunderstanding? Did I say something wrong? I replay every conversation, every interaction, looking for the trigger, the moment I became undesirable, but nothing comes. Only this crushing weight of absence, this complete devastating absence of my family, my son, my Lily, my Tom. It's like a chapter of my life was just ripped out. It didn't happen all at once, you see. It was gradual, like a plant dying without water, slowly withering until there was nothing left but a dry husk. The first real sign, the one that truly jolted me, came a few months after my 79th birthday, after the kids stopped their Tuesday visits. I'd had a dizzy spell, a quick tumble in the kitchen reaching for a mug, nothing serious, just a scare, but my old bones aren't what they used to be. I lay there for a moment, the ceramic shards glinting on the linoleum, a dull ache spreading in my hip. My first instinct, always, was to call Mark, my son. I fumbled for the phone, my hands shaking a little, and dialed his number. It rang once, twice, then clicked to voicemail. "Hi, Dad. Can't get to the phone right now. Leave a message." I tried again. Voicemail. A third time. Voicemail. I left a shaky messagee, trying to sound nonchalant. "Just checking in, Mark. Give me a call back when you can." I managed to get myself up, clean the mess, and sit down, waiting for the call that never came. Not that day, not the next. That night, the silence in the house wasn't just quiet, it was deafening. After that, the excuses started piling up like autumn leaves, dry and brittle. My calls to Mark went unreturned for days, sometimes a whole week. When he finally called back, it was always rushed, a quick 15 minutes of "How are you, Dad? Everything all right? Good, good." No real conversation, no asking about my day, no offer to stop by. Sarah, my daughter-in-law, she'd send polite but vague texts about how busy they were with the children's activities, school plays, doctor's appointments. Lily and Tom, my precious grandchildren, their names became a shield, a reason why they couldn't possibly visit their old grandfather. I tried to understand. Life gets busy, I told myself. I remembered being a young parent, the endless demands. But still, a part of me, a deep, wounded part, kept asking, too busy for your own father, too busy for the man who raised you alone, the man who taught you how to build that volcano, how to dream. It felt like I was slowly being edited out of their lives, a forgotten scene in a movie they were still starring in. Then came the conversation I had dreaded, yet somehow knew was inevitable. Mark and Sarah came over one Sunday, not for a visit with the children, but just the two of them. They sat stiffly on my old sofa, the one Martha and I picked out together, their eyes avoiding mine. Mark started, his voice uncharacteristically soft, almost rehearsed. "Dad," he began, clearing his throat, "we've been talking, Sarah and I, about your fall, and, well, about everything." My heart sank, a heavy stone dropping into my gut. I knew what was coming. He talked about my safety, about my well-being, about how we're just worried about you living alone. He mentioned the steps, the garden that was becoming too much for me, the quiet, always the quiet. It was like he was reading from a brochure, not speaking from his heart. I looked at him, my son, my Mark, and saw a stranger, mouthing platitudes. "We think it might be time for a change," Sarah interjected, her voice saccharine sweet, though her gaze remained fixed on a spot just over my shoulder. "There's a lovely residence not too far from us, Maplewood Place. They have wonderful staff, activities, even a little garden you'd enjoy. A residence, a nursing home." The words hung in the air like a shroud. I remember hearing them, but not truly believing them. My home. The home Martha and I built. The home where Mark grew up, where Lily and Tom learned to walk. But this is my home," I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. "I'm fine here. I can manage." Mark put a hand on my knee, a gesture that felt more like a restraint than comfort. "Dad, it's for your own good. We just want you to be safe. We'll be able to visit more often. It'll be easier for everyone. Easier for everyone." I knew what that meant. Easier for them. My throat tightened. Martha, my Martha. She would never have allowed this. She would have held my hand and fought for me, but she was gone and I was alone. But what happened next? What I discovered about their true intentions truly shattered what little hope I had left. It wasn't just about my safety, it was about something far more cruel. The day of the move came. It was a blur of boxes and unfamiliar faces. Mark was there, directing the movers, but he didn't look at me much. I walked through the house, each room an echo of a life I was leaving behind. I had to choose what to take, what to leave. How do you decide what memories get to come with you? My gaze fell upon Martha's old rocking chair, worn smooth from years of quiet evenings, of rocking Mark as a baby, then Lily, then Tom. It wouldn't fit in the small room at Maplewood. "Just leave it," I told Mark, my voice cracking. He nodded, already moving on to the next box. Then there was my old wooden toolbox, heavy with the tools I'd used my whole life, the ones I'd taught Mark how to use. It was too bulky, too much. "Leave it too," I whispered, a tear finally escaping. It wasn't just a chair or a box of tools. It was Martha's presence, it was our shared history, it was the lessons I'd imparted to my son. I was leaving pieces of my soul behind, packed away and forgotten, just like me. Leaving the house for the last time felt like walking out of my own skin. The front door closed with a soft click, a final period on a sentence I hadn't finished writing. The sterile scent of the residence hit me first, a sharp contrast to the familiar comfort of my own home. My new room was small, impersonal. The view from the window was a brick wall, not the sprawling oak tree where Lily and Tom used to play hide and seek. I tried to make it home, arranging my few photos, my books, but it wasn't home. It was a waiting room. I would sit by the window, not looking at the brick wall, but replaying the moments in my mind, the laughter, the warmth. The first few weeks were a hazy nightmare of polite smiles from staff and the crushing weight of loneliness. Mark and Sarah did bring Lily and Tom to visit once, about a month after I moved in. It was a short, awkward affair in the common room. Lily, my Lily, looked so grown up, her eyes hesitant. Tom, my Tom, clutched a toy car, not meeting my gaze. They sat on the edge of their chairs, clearly uncomfortable. Mark kept checking his watch. Sarah talked about how lovely Maplewood was. As they were leaving, Mark bent down, giving me a quick pat on the shoulder. "We'll be back next month, Dad, for your birthday for sure, with a cake. We'll make it a big celebration, just like old times." Lily and Tom waved weakly, their smiles forced. "Bye, Grandpa," they chirped, almost on cue. That promise, that explicit promise of a birthday celebration, was the last time I saw them. My birthday came and went. No cake, no celebration, no visit. Just the silence, louder than ever before, in this place that was supposed to be easier. My phone once again remained stubbornly, eternally silent. You know what's worse than death. Being alive and forgotten. Locked away in a room that isn't yours, in a life that isn't yours. Every morning I open my eyes to the same brick wall outside my window. Not the oak tree from my old home. Not the morning sun dappling through leaves. Just grey, unyielding brick. It reminds me of a prison, built brick by brick, not by bars, but by silence. I climb out of bed, my joints protesting with every movement, and the first thing I do is check the phone. Habit, I suppose. A fool's hope. It never rings. Not for Mark, not for Lily, not for Tom. Meals are a particular torture. I sit at a small table in the dining hall, surrounded by other faces, some lost in their own worlds, some trying to make polite conversation. But I am alone. I watch Mrs. Henderson, 3 tables over, meticulously cut her meat, her eyes vacant. I watch Mr. Davies, always talking to himself. I used to sit at a table filled with laughter, with Martha's warmth, with the clamour of my son, and later, my grandchildren. Now the clinking of cutlery on ceramic plates is the loudest sound, a soundtrack to my utter solitude. I push the food around, tasting nothing. The emptiness inside me is far hungrier than my stomach. My Lily, she loved my pancakes. My Tom, he'd always ask for an extra scoop of ice cream after dinner. Their voices are just echoes now, distant whispers in a silent room. Today is Martha's birthday. She would have been 84. I woke up knowing, the date etched into my memory, a permanent scar. I held her old scarf to my face, inhaling the faint, sweet scent of lavender and her. I spent an hour just holding it, remembering. Our first dance, her hand in mine. Mark, our Mark, when he was just a little boy, giving her a dandelion bouquet he'd picked from the yard. No one else remembered. No one called to say, "Thinking of you, Arthur," on Martha's special day. It's as if she, and by extension, our shared life, never existed. My own health, little aches and pains, a cough that lingers a bit too long, a sudden sharp pain in my chest. These are things I keep to myself. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to give Mark another reason to feel justified in putting me here. So I suffer in silence, my only comfort the photographs I talk to, as if their still faces could offer solace. If you think what you've heard so far is sad, prepare yourself. What I'm about to reveal next broke me completely. It was a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of mild, sunny day that usually lifted my spirits, or at least made the brick wall seem less imposing. I was sitting in the common room, pretending to read a newspaper, but mostly just watching the door, a foolish, persistent hope flickering in my chest. Another family arrived, a young couple with 2 children, a girl about Lily's age and a boy a little older than Tom. They weren't here for me, of course. They were here for Mrs. Albright, a kind woman down the hall. But what unfolded before my eyes was a scene stolen straight from my own shattered dreams. The moment the door opened, the little girl, with bright red bows in her hair, shrieked, "Grandpa!" and launched herself across the room. Mrs. Albright, who usually sat stoically, her gaze fixed on some faraway point, burst into a radiant smile. Her eyes, usually dim, lit up with a joy that seemed almost blinding. The little boy, his face alight, followed close behind, giving her a fierce hug that made her sway in her armchair. "Grandpa, look," he exclaimed, holding up a drawing, a messy, vibrant picture of a house, a tree, and stick figures, just like the one Lily left on my fridge a lifetime ago. The parents, a young man and woman, stood by, their faces beaming with love and quiet pride. "Mum, Dad," the young man said, embracing Mrs. Albright, "we brought cookies, your favorite." He then knelt down, adjusting his own son's collar, whispering something that made the boy giggle. The little girl, Lily's doppelganger in my mind, sat on Mrs. Albright's lap, recounting her day at school, every word met with an attentive nod, a gentle stroke of her hair. Mrs. Albright didn't just listen, she engaged, her voice soft but clear, asking questions, laughing at the children's anecdotes. They brought her a little plant, a potted violet, and together, the children helped her find a spot for it on her windowsill. Every interaction, every touch, every shared laugh was a dagger twisting in my heart. The room, which usually felt so heavy with unspoken sorrow, was momentarily filled with a symphony of happiness, a melody of family that I no longer knew. I watched, an invisible ghost in my own tragedy. The scent of those store-bought cookies, the same kind Mark used to sneak from the pantry when he was a boy, wafted towards me. The little girl's voice, so clear and innocent, pierced through the years, sounding so much like my Lily's. The way the boy leaned into his grandfather, so trusting, so loving, reminded me of Tom. I saw the father, the son, my Mark, laughing with his children, connecting with his mother, doing all the things my Mark no longer did with me. A wave of nausea washed over me. I wanted to look away, to hide, but my eyes were glued to the scene, compelled by a desperate, agonizing longing. My hands trembled, not from age but from the raw, exposed wound in my chest. I felt a single tear trace a burning path down my cheek, then another. I quickly wiped them away, hoping no one would notice the old man silently weeping in the corner. It wasn't pity I wanted. It was my family. It was what they had, what I had lost, what I was denied. And it was at that moment, watching their pure, unadulterated joy, a joy I once knew so intimately, that I started to wonder, where did I go wrong? Where did I fail as a parent, as a father, that I should be denied such a fundamental human connection? I spent months asking myself, where did I go wrong? Was I too strict with Mark, my Mark? Did I push him too hard, expect too much? Or was I too lenient after Martha, my Martha, passed? Did I spoil him, thinking I could make up for the mother he lost? The self-recrimination was a constant companion, a tormenting whisper in the silent nights. But then a letter, a single envelope, changed the question to, what have they become? It started, as many pivotal moments do, with something mundane. A nurse, bless her kind heart, brought a box to my room. "Mr. Hayes," she said, her voice gentle, "this was found in the attic of your old house. The new owners were cleaning out. They said it looked like it might be important." It was Martha's old memory box, dusty and forgotten, tied with a faded ribbon. The very box she'd kept all our letters, photos, and little mementos of our life together. I hadn't even realized it had been left behind. My hands trembled as I took it, the familiar scent of old paper, and Martha's lavender sachet clinging to it. I carried it to my small, impersonal table, my heart doing a strange flutter kick. Opening it felt like opening a window to a past I desperately missed, a past filled with Martha, with Mark as a happy boy with family. Inside, beneath a cascade of dried flowers from our wedding bouquet and a lock of Mark's baby hair, I found it. Not a photo, not a drawing, but a thick, cream-colored envelope sealed with a formal crest. It was addressed to me, but the date was nearly 5 years ago. It was from a law firm, a name I vaguely recognized from Mark's business dealings. My fingers fumbled with the seal, my heart hammering against my ribs. What could a law firm have been writing to me about, especially 5 years ago? I unfolded the crisp paper, my eyes scanning the dense legal jargon, until a name jumped out at me, bold and undeniable, Mark Hayes, and next to it the words, breach of contract, substantial debt, personal guarantee. What I'm about to reveal explains everything, and it will break your heart. The letter wasn't just about Mark, it was about my life savings. It was about the mortgage I'd paid off on my house, the very house they'd moved me out of. Years ago, when Mark decided to expand his business, he'd come to me, full of ambition, asking for a loan. Not a formal loan, you understand. Just a bit of a boost, Dad, he'd said, to get the new venture off the ground. I'll pay you back every penny with interest. He'd even had a lawyer draw up a document, a simple agreement, to make it official for his own records, he'd explained. I hadn't worried. He was my son. I trusted him with my life, with everything. The letter, however, detailed a legal battle Mark had lost, a catastrophic business failure, where he had used my home, my fully paid-off home, as collateral for a massive business loan he'd taken out without my full knowledge, using the agreement I'd signed to secure the initial boost. It wasn't just a loan from me. It was a personal guarantee from me that he'd presented to the bank. The firm was notifying me that the bank was now looking to seize the house, my house, to cover Mark's debts. This letter, dated 5 years ago, was a warning I never received. Mark must have intercepted it, hidden it, or simply chose to ignore it. The house, my home, the place where Martha and I raised him had been taken, not by the bank directly, but indirectly, by his actions, his failures, his deceit. And then he sold it quickly, under market value, pocketing whatever was left after the bank took its due. That's why he'd been so insistent on me moving out, so quick to push me into Maplewood Place. He needed to sell the house to cover his colossal failure, and I, his aging father, was just in the way. A burden, a complication. My home, my sanctuary, was a casualty of his greed and recklessness. A cold, hard knot formed in my stomach. This wasn't just about money, you see. It was about betrayal. This wasn't the son I raised. The Mark I knew, my Mark wouldn't have done this. He wouldn't have used my trust, my love, as a weapon against me. He wouldn't have sacrificed my home, my last connection to Martha, to cover his own mistakes. The anger, sharp and incandescent, was quickly overtaken by a profound, agonizing disappointment. This wasn't what I wanted for him. I didn't want him to fail. I didn't want him to be a person who would lie, manipulate, and abandon his own father for financial gain. All those years I worried I'd gone wrong as a parent, fearing I'd failed him somehow. Now the bitter truth was laid bare. I gave him love, support, every opportunity, and he chose money. He chose to gamble with my life, with my legacy, and when the bet failed, he simply cut me out. I thought back to the little signs, the fleeting moments I'd dismissed as youthful exuberance or ambition. The time he borrowed money from Martha's purse without asking, promising to pay it back but never doing so. The way he always wanted the newest, most expensive toys, even if it meant Martha and I went without. The way he'd blame others for his mistakes at school, never taking responsibility. I'd always brushed them off. Boys will be boys, Martha would say, or he's just ambitious, Arthur. I'd poured my own sacrifices into his success, working double shifts, saving every penny, always believing he would use it for good, for a stable future. I remembered sitting with him, explaining the importance of honesty, integrity. How ironic that the very values I instilled he so readily discarded. The shame wasn't mine, it was his. And the heartbreak, that was all mine. My hands, still trembling, carefully refolded the letter. I didn't need to read it again. The words were seared into my mind. I didn't need to confront him, to scream, to demand an explanation. What good would it do? The truth was there, stark and undeniable. My son wasn't just busy. He was a coward. He wasn't just distant. He was a manipulator. The abandonment wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate act to hide his shame and protect his fractured financial world. I looked at the old photographs in the box. Mark, beaming on his wedding day. Martha's arm around him. Mark holding Lily for the first time, tears in his eyes. I closed the box slowly, the click echoing the finality of my realization. I didn't tear up the photos. They were Martha's memories too. Instead, I carefully tucked the damning letter beneath them all, a secret kept safe, not for revenge, but for a cold, painful acceptance. It wasn't about forgiveness anymore. It was about understanding the true cost of what he had done. It was about accepting that the son I knew, the son I loved, was gone, replaced by this stranger, driven by desperation and deceit. I held that dusty box, filled with both cherished memories and this devastating truth, on my lap. With this truth in my hands, there's only one thing left for me to say before the end. And now, the message that could change the life of whoever is watching. If you're watching this, and you have elderly parents, or even just family you hold dear, please listen closely. My story isn't just about me, it's about a choice. The choice you make every single day, the choice Mark, my son, made. One day, if you're lucky enough to live a long life, you'll be in my place, staring at nothing, at a brick wall, or at the phone, waiting for a call that never comes, waiting for a visit that is always next week or too busy. You will understand the deafening silence, the chill that settles in your bones, not from the cold, but from the absence of love, the weight of time, stretching out endlessly, filled only with regret. A 5-minute phone call, a simple text message saying, "Thinking of you, Dad." A photo, just a single photograph of my Lily, my Tom playing in the park, laughing, living their lives. An unexpected, "I love you." These things, they would be like winning the lottery to me. More valuable than all the money in the world. They would light up this sterile room, if only for a moment. They would remind me that I am still loved, still remembered, still human. I still have the drawing Lily gave me, taped to a tiny corner of the mirror, but it's faded now. I wish I had a new one. I wish I had a new memory. At 82, you realize what truly matters. It's not the house you paid off, the savings you accumulated, or the grand successes your children achieve. No, it's the memories, the laughter, the quiet moments of connection, the knowledge that you are cherished. Money, material things, they are fleeting. My house, my home, my sanctuary, it was gone because of Mark's choices. And for what? So he could protect himself from his own failures? But love, true, honest love, that is eternal, and it's the only currency that matters when your days are numbered. When you're staring into the abyss of your own mortality, it's not the balance in your bank account you crave, it's the warmth of a familiar hand, the sound of a loved one's voice. Don't leave it for later. Don't tell yourself, I'll call tomorrow, or I'll visit next month, because later might be too late. Tomorrow might never come. Hug your parents. Tell them you love them today. Share a meal. Listen to their stories, even the ones you've heard 100 times, because those stories, those moments, they are precious. They are your legacy and theirs. They are the threads that weave a family together, threads that, once broken, can never be fully mended. I haven't told anyone here at Maplewood. I didn't want to be a bother, you see. Didn't want to give Mark, my son, another reason to justify his actions, another excuse to stay away. But that cough that lingers, it's not just a cough anymore. The doctors here, they've been very kind. They talk about progression and limited time. They don't give me many more seasons, perhaps only 1 or 2. I kept it to myself, thinking, maybe, just maybe, if I didn't burden him, he would remember me. But now, with the truth of that letter, with the devastating knowledge of what he truly did, what he sacrificed for his own failures, I know it won't change anything. My son has chosen his path. He has chosen money over family, deceit over love. And he will likely never know the true cost of his choices until it's far, far too late. He doesn't know. Lily and Tom don't know. They are being denied their last moments with their grandfather. And Mark, his last chance to be a son. I still have hope, though. A tiny, foolish spark that flickers in the deepest part of my heart. I still have hope of seeing my son, my Mark, one last time, to look into his eyes and ask him why, and to tell Lily and Tom, my precious grandchildren, how much I loved them, how much I always loved them, and how sorry I am that they were kept from me. Is that too much to ask before I close my eyes forever? Is it too much to ask for an apology from a son and a final goodbye to the grandchildren I adore? This was my story, Arthur's story. Just one, I suppose, among millions of old souls sitting in silence, forgotten. My son, Mark, chose money over me, deceit over love. He abandoned his father, keeping my precious Lily and Tom from me. My heart aches for them, for the moments we could have shared, for the memories they are being denied. If anything I've said today has touched your heart, then please, I beg you, don't make the same mistakes my son did. Don't put off that call to your parents, that visit to your family. Time is a thief, and it waits for no one. You can't turn back the clock. And regret, my friends, regret is a sickness with no cure. It will eat away at you slowly, just as loneliness has eaten away at me. If you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone who might be forgetting their own family, share my words with them. Let them hear my warning. And if you have your parents still with you, if you are blessed enough to have them, please hug them for me. Hug them tight. Tell them you love them while you still have the chance. Tell them for Arthur, the old man who lost everything, all because of a hidden box of letters. Let my story be a reminder of what truly matters before it's too late for you too.